Hello. So you're here with me today and the amazing, beautiful, talented Anna Haskell, who is a mermaid.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
I love it. We say here, we're like, I'm on the beach, I'm in a pool, but really we're just in the bedroom with the background, really, aren't
Yeah,
we?
yeah, hiding the mess behind the screen.
Crazy, isn't it? Yeah. So I have just been blown away by, I've known you for quite a while and I've seen the kind of stuff that you've been doing. And I want to sort of explain, what we mean by mermaid and how you're a mermaid. But what has really kind of popped up on my social media is how much work you've been doing with your sewing, and of course, you're kind. I'm guessing you've been an expert on sewing because you've had to do so much stuff for your career as a mermaid. Is that right?
No, not at all.
Okay, explain.
I started sewing again when my son was born. He's coming up 6, so it was just before he was born. I'd sewn as a kid, but not a lot. Hadn't really made clothes, so got into it then. Made this.
Very
Thought
beautiful.
I'd wear something I've worn because I've given away loads of stuff. um, so I was sewing, and then when obviously everything got locked down, priorities shifted, and I had an idea of where I wanted to go, but the need for the NHS and GP surgeries was such that I just thought, do you know what? Everything else can kind of take a backseat. I'm really going to focus on what people need and give back, because I was lucky enough to be furloughed. So I started sewing scrubs. It wasn't all plain sailing either. V-necks are really hard. So I had a friend. It was actually, of all the things, it was so my son is called Cody, and it was one of the NCT friends. They manage a GP surgery, so I started sewing for Selzy, it was brilliant to do it locally. I really felt like, I think with the national movement, it's it's absolutely amazing, but you have no idea where those are going. Whereas I could sew for people, I could get their height, and I could make sure that the
Oh,
ladies, yeah, so one of the ladies was only 5 foot, so actually instead of sewing, these men's small trousers that would have been 10 inches too big, I could actually hem them to her size and do things like that actually made a difference to them as well. Like, it's not just generic. So yeah.
making them personalized scrubs.
Yeah.
And some of the material has been kind of cool as well that you've used, right?
So I had, there was a lady that was helping me as well. So she was from Selsey, and she wanted to do the same thing as me, just kind of give back. So her fabric arrived before mine did. So I used some of her blue fabric. I had 40 meters, 43 meters on order. So that arrived, and that was just a dark green. But yeah, some of it was my practice scrubs, which did go to them because they can still be used, but yeah, my practice scrubs had like flowery pockets and polka dots, and it was all good. It was all good. And the trousers, I did a pair of trousers in my ex stocking. I had it for making stockings, so they were bright red, and I thought I might scare some people off, but they went. If they could be used, great. If not, that's fine.
Have you had feedback on the unusual scrubs?
Just that it'd be perfect if they spilt red wine, because no one would know.
They shouldn't really be drinking wine like when.
Yes, or they'll be great as pajamas.
That's really good. So I have to ask you this because I saw you made these. I mean, I don't know what they are, but they look amazing. Which is the scrub bags?
Yes.
What is a scrub bag?
So a scrub bag is for the medical workers, NHS workers, whoever. So one of my friends is a paramedic, and another is working in the ITU in St Richard's in Chichester. So I did them for the whole team there. So a scrub bag is where they can get changed out of their work clothes at the end of the day, put them into this scrub bag, which is a bit like a giant pillowcase, seal it shut, and then put it straight in the wash. And the idea is they open it up as they put it in the wash, and everything will fall out. It's not like they have to shake it out or contaminate more things. So this was, and it can be washed at high temperature and things like that.
Is that something like really, really useful for them and to make their life just that little bit easier?
Yes, and then I decorated them too. So I I couldn't help it.
They're so
So
cute. They're so cute with the things tell me again what you put on them, because it's so cute.
so it had virtual hug on it, and it was like a little text message, virtual hug. So I just before lockdown, I was lucky enough to get a secondhand Cricut machine, which I'd never really used before. So it does heat transfer vinyl, so you can cut a design out and then heat transfer it on. So all the scrubs had the ladies' names in them in nice writing, and then the scrub bags had like virtual hug written on them. So it was just something that, even if it, because they have to be washed at high temperature, so even if it comes off in the wash, the idea was that they'd get it and it would put a smile on their face. Hopefully.
That's so lovely. It's so lovely. And I mean, so you're saying you're finished now with that?
Yeah, so I'm finished sewing for the Selzy practice. I've still got fabric left, but it, I'll be really honest, it was really stressful.
Oh.
So it's kind of taken a back seat. So I've got, I think, 2 tops that are half finished and enough fabric to do the trousers to go with it. But I'm just kind of taking a breather.
Why
I think
was it so stressful?
because I knew the demand was so high and so important for these. It was actually all women that I sewed for. I think because men don't care if they have to wash their clothes at 60, whereas women's professional clothing tends to be different fabric and different materials, so it's not suitable. So so it was all women that I sewed for in the end. And I think it was that it was such a need that they felt like this would help them and be protected in a way that like the need was there. Does that make sense? So I felt they weren't pressuring me at all, but it was me that I knew they wanted them. I knew it would help them do their job. Therefore, I wanted to get them done quickly, easily. They nice finish, that they'd look professional as well. That So I think it was just, yeah, it was a bit much though, because I haven't taken on a project like that for sewing.
I want to say this, and I know it's really bad to say, but you dived in.
Oh yeah.
You dived into it, didn't you? So, and I think that's so brilliant that you did it. But as you say, there comes a point when you should just say, I need to get some air now. I need a little, to come up for air, as you do. So, as you see, I'm being very clever now. I'm bringing it back to what you actually do, and I really want to talk about that as well, because having seen you and some of the photos and the video, the things that you've done, it's mind-blowing. Because and I'd let you explain it, because I'm sure you're used to explaining it, but I want to make sure that people understand why we're saying you're a mermaid and what being a mermaid means to you.
So I run South Coast Mermaids, which is a swimming school for children and adults that makes swimming magical. And what I mean by that is we swim in mermaid tails. So it's a monofin, and then it has a cover over it in mermaid fabric, and then you go for a swim, and it is just the most amazing thing ever. It is so much fun. What I love about it is that there's no pressure with it. So a lot of sports, especially when you get to sort of secondary school age, for example, become really competitive. Even dance, if you think about netball, you go into leagues. There's nothing with this. It's just for fun. And that's what I loved, that there was a non-competitive sports option, particularly that appeals to girls. And I thought that was just the most fun thing ever. So that's how it started. And then, so I started just with children, we grew, took on adults, grew a bit more, took on more venues. I now run mermaid parties, mermaid experiences, mermaid like team building activities, all sorts. So it started off really small and it's grown, and now we're in lockdown. It's all good. So but obviously that's one of the things that I wasn't able to do any of this because all the pools are closed. So yeah.
I think it's fascinating you saying that about the lack of letting go of that competitive nature of swimming and of being in the water. And it makes me think about the way that free diving has changed, doesn't it? In terms of, you know, Hanny, I can say her name right, Hanny Prinsloo, because she swims with a she's the, I don't know if she's the world champion free diver, because I think she stopped competing now, hasn't she? But she started swimming with a monofin,
Yeah.
and really going back to that thing of actually being about being in the water and being at one with nature,
Yeah.
and you know, recognizing that it doesn't have to be sort of the depth or the amount of time underwater or anything of those, any of those competitive things, but just about the pure joy of
Oh,
swimming, and I haven't even done it yet, because every time I plan to do it, there's something comes up, you know.
yeah. Do you know what? It just brings out the joy in people. So even so, if I run children's birthday parties, which I love doing, I really encourage the parents to try on a fin. And they're like, wow, this is so much fun. And I'm like, I know, this is the best thing ever. And that's it. It's just about bringing joy into swimming. And I think it's a real incentive too. So if you look at a lot of, you know, especially women's sports, you know, you get to that certain age and it's competitive. So even if you talk about synchronized swimming or diving, you can't really just take part for fun. Although I did take an adult synchronized swimming class that was just for fun before lockdown, which was amazing. So do check that out when we all open back up again. But and just providing something that is active. It is a sport in terms of you can take it out, you know, you can swim lengths, you can take it how far you want, but it is, the main thing is it's just for enjoyment. And there aren't many sports like that. You know, you can go and walk, absolutely, but there's not things that you can do as a together with friends, things like that, but actually you're staying active together, you're having fun, there's that social aspect, and it's so lovely, it really is. But again, and even if you talk about something like badminton, you know, there's still scores, there's still a winner, you know, and I think actually this is, yeah, it really is just joyful.
It's funny when you say that, because obviously when I teach Zumba, and when I teach Zumba, that's how I feel, that we there's, I say competition because sometimes we do like little battles and things like that, so there's sometimes we push each other and we kind of do better because we're in a group and do, but there's no you know, there's no negative competition.
No,
Which
no.
I,
But I think, and that's where I think it's really difficult for young girls, because if you're 12, 13, a lot of times you can't join a class like that. You know, there aren't as many Zumba classes for children, especially at that age where they're not adults, but they're not little kids. So, you know, yes, you can do cosmic yoga, which is amazing at home and things like that, but actually there's not that niche for that age group. I think that's sort of missing sometimes.
yeah, I think in terms of sport, it is tricky. I think you know, the teenager and slightly, you know, as they go into being young adults, because you know, I teach kids as well, and although we often treat teenagers as though they're adults, they have a different body and they're not ready. Their
No.
body isn't ready. Some people even say up to age 19 they shouldn't be partaking in the same sort of adult sports. They shouldn't be lifting weights or anything like that, because the body is still developing, but they want to be doing something exciting and adventurous. And some kids love coming to, I mean,
Oh,
I can teach them in an adult class because it's not you know, it's not going to be very stressful on the body, but a lot of them don't want to kind of come with their mum to class because they want to be doing something on their own. So I think you're right. It's that age group, as you say, probably about, you know, 13, you know, upwards, is it's a group that kind of needs, you know, we need to be careful and make sure that we're offering enough things for people to stay, kids to stay active and passionate about their sport as well, without feeling that they have to be competing. Oh, I think Anna, you might have frozen. No, you're still blinking. You're still there.
oh.
Um,
You know, and I think it's brilliant. And like, oh yeah, am I all good? Am I all good?
back. You're back.
No.
Well, I tell you what. I think you're back, but I'm going to talk about so. So what I was going to say is, One thing,
Okay.
but one thing you can't see, sorry, you can't see Anna's tails, Anna's fins. And so you can check out the really beautiful tails on your Instagram, which is South Coast Mermaids. And I don't know where else people can see all these beautiful things that you do.
So South Coast Mermaids on Instagram. I'm www.southcoastmermaids.com, and on Facebook it's at so all those places,
Okay.
really, and starting on Pinterest.
Okay.
Oh, we okay.
Okay, so I don't know, it's my end that's having a bit of a problem here. So,
Okay.
but what I'll do is, I won't keep you too much longer. But one of the things that we really wanted to talk about was about getting back out, getting on the beach, and how we can do that safely, and what people need to think about if they are feeling the call of the sea. I feel it all the time. I'm sure you do too. But most of the time, I have to just kind of be safe and just go down, have a little look, and then come back again, or a paddle.
It's a really difficult one. So Swim England and the Royal Life Saving Society and the British Triathlon have come up with some safety guidance. Really, I would be saying to anyone, don't go. And that's really tough because I'm desperate to go for a swim. However, there are lots of things that you need to take into account. They've done a really good job. So I'm going to talk through what they have said, and then I'll kind of add my bit to explain it in a moment. So they've said you should only go swimming if you're experienced. So this is not the time to take up open water swimming. And I'll talk a bit more about that in just a moment. So experience, and you've assessed the risks. So you've looked at tide times, you've looked at, not that you can see rip currents, but you know the area. Don't go swimming in a new area at this point. Know the temperature of the water. Never swim alone, but you've also got to maintain social distancing if that person is not from your household. So that's really important. If you do go swimming, you need to tell someone that is not in the water with you where you are going, what you're doing, and what time you're expected back. And if you're not sure or have any doubts about it, don't swim. So I'll just talk really quickly about why you shouldn't start open water swimming at this point. So there are a lot of reasons, but you have to be really strong, and it is different to swimming in a pool. There's also a lot of things that if you haven't been open water swimming before, you won't really know to take into account. So things like cold water shock can be real at this time of year if you are not used to it. So cold water shock is when you go into the water. The water is much colder than you expect, and it is different from being in, putting your toes in near the shore to actually being in cold water, which can make you gasp, and it can make you panic. If you panic, then your legs don't move in the way, your arms go all tense, and so you then are not able to swim. It's like a physiological reaction. So things like that, they are real risks, and I don't want people to underestimate them. Like, I would love to say go swimming, but we can't. It's just not safe at the moment. The other thing is about swimming alone. Even super experienced open water swimmers will not swim alone. They will go with someone else. I've got a very dear friend of mine that was putting open water swimming on hold, and as soon as they sort of said you can swim with a friend socially distant, they went and did it because they are in a club together. They used to go every week. They knew what they were doing, but they were still waiting for the right time. I'm not an open water swimmer, so I went for a paddle in the sea the other day with my son. We had great fun. We weren't planning on going in. We were jumping over the waves. We were staying, lower than hip depth in the water. Really, for me, it was only knee depth. He was a little bit deeper because he's a little bit shorter. But, I was right there next to him the entire time. And I think that's really important too. Even paddling, there are huge risks with it. And I know that sounds, you might think that's crazy, but actually if you look at places like West Wittering over the summer, when they get strong winds, when they get rip currents, they pull everyone out the water, and that includes people paddling. So, these risks are real. And at the moment, the beaches are not lifeguarded. So it really is a case of even if you're paddling, assessing the risks, knowing the dangers, having a plan, making sure. So when we were paddling, my sister was watching us and she didn't get in. And actually, that's really important too. So yes, I hate to be a buzzkill. The pools will be open before too long. In the meantime, get the paddling pool out, because I've done that. Go for a walk along the beach, dip your toes in, assess the risks, and know what you are doing and know how to stay safe near the water. That's my big thing.
And it's so great to hear it from a mermaid, because I think the thing is that I'm like that. I went for a paddle the other day, and I was literally just in my legs in, and I looked out and it was a beautiful day, and I just went, yeah, I could go, I could go, and I thought, no, it's not right, it's just not right. And that was a flat, calm, clear day, but I knew it wasn't safe. And so I'm gonna recap on a couple of other things as well that we talked about. Was you talked about the cold. If you are going down to the beach, no matter, even if you're going for a paddle, take some warm clothes, dry clothes, because it's often much colder on the beach than you expect it to be. Yeah. And if you have to stay in wet clothes, that is a risk, because it can get very cold at night in the evenings. And if you get stuck in traffic and you're sitting in those wet clothes, and for kids as well, or older people particularly. Sun safety, please, with the sun safety, because the water, even if you're paddling, you get a lot more reflection. Also, with the sea breezes, you don't feel it. You want to know how many times I've burnt in England on this, because that air comes in and you don't feel the sun until you get back, and then it's like, oh, what did I do? And the other thing was tides. So you mentioned tides, but Westwatering particularly, it's got a lot of shallows, and then when that tide comes in, the number of people who get cut off and have to be rescued by the lifeguard every day of the summer, every day I'm down there, and they're yelling, please come in because the tide is coming in, and it comes in fast, and you can get stuck. I got stuck the other day on the shore because it was just a day where the tide was really high and the bridge was covered in water. So I had to just sit there for like an hour and wait for the tide to go out again. So I was lucky because I was able to do that. But it reminded me, check your tide times. And also, if there's a cliff face or rocks behind you, you may not be able to wait it out. You may get into real danger. So please be aware of tides, that are coming in. Things like, the random, I'm going to do my school teacher thing of like, please take your rubbish away with you from the beach. Please respect the local people, the parking, and just be kind to each other, be nice and gentle on the beach, and give your space on the beach as well. It's such a wonderful thing. We're so lucky in England that we are able to go to these lovely places. So we just need to respect it and kind of like be kind to ourselves and everybody else as well, I think.
Absolutely. And I think at the moment too, I think it's really difficult because I teach a lot of children as well to swim, and I think at the moment there's that kind of, I just want to go swimming, I want to go in the water, and there's that kind of rush, and actually it is so different from swimming in a pool. And the overconfidence that comes near the water, which might be okay in a pool when you're stood next to them, is so different in the ocean. And I think it's really easy to get complacent because you think, oh, my child can swim. And actually open water is totally different. So it is, you're absolutely right, just staying safe and waiting. We've got this glorious weather, got these glorious beaches, so go enjoy them socially distant and sensible and paddle, but just wait for the right time to get back in the water, I think.
And just something you said there, if you have a board or an inflatable or anything like that, those again are the things that really get people into trouble, because you can be pulled out very quickly by tides. So I think what they generally say is if you have an inflatable, do not go out of your depth, do not go out when it's rough, and if you are on a board, and we say maybe that should be something if you are experienced, if you know what you're doing, if you are used to going out on boards. but if you get into trouble, never let your board go. Always, because that is your flotation device. And the RNLI are running some services in some places.
Yeah.
So you should call, if you do get into trouble, call 999.
For sure.
But don't get into trouble. Please don't get into trouble. That's
Yeah.
why I'm doing this.
And I'd say with inflatables, I'm going to be a buzzkill again. I'm going to say don't take them in. It's not worth it. Inflatables can get swept out so quickly, even if you are standing there, even if you're holding the string of a boat. It's not worth it. There was a lady that was stranded for 22 hours on her inflatable float in Italy. This is an adult, and she got swept out to sea, and it's just not worth it. I get very nervous at West Wittering because I see so many people on inflatables, and it isn't that safe. So I would say inflatables are for the pool.
Absolutely. Get an inflatable, get a cocktail. If you have your own pool, you know, I find it very difficult. One of my things at the moment is I get very irritated by a lot of celebrities and people who live in the States, in Miami, and they talk about how bad quarantine is by the side of their pool. And I find it hard to have sympathy for that. I know. One shouldn't judge. But if there was a pool, I would be in it. There'd be inflatable, there'd be margarita, and it would be great.
So don't drink and swim.
Maybe it's not a deep pool. Maybe. I mean, we all want to get through this safely, and we all want to have like masses and masses of fun. And but you know, I spent my childhood. I was very lucky to come and visit my grandparents on the coast, and we were on the beach all the time. And my granddad was he was constantly giving us the message that you can have so much fun in your depth. You can, you know, that's where the waves come in. Most surfers, you know, a lot of surfers don't even go out of their depth. You know, you can really have a lot of fun with those waves, quite in quite shallow waters. And he just, you know, instilled us, you never ever go out of your depth, you know, to us, because around here there are strong tides, and
Sure.
so many members of my family at one time or another have got into trouble, even swimming together, even being quite safe. It's nature, and you don't control the tide.
No, absolutely. Stay safe.
No, I know it's sad we keep having to say the same kind of message, but I think the thing is we can have so much fun, and I think I just love all the things that you've been sharing on social media, because it's so wonderful to see it. You know, even if you can't get out and if you can't do it, it's like, oh, it's so cute and fluffy, and it's like being a real mermaid, which is what most of us dream about being, you know. And I love that. So just very quickly, do you have any idea of, you know, what do you think will be happening for you in the future, or is it just still one day at a time?
A lot of it is one day at a time. There is no sign that pools will reopen anytime soon. Even if they do, things are going to look a lot different. We were lucky in that, I mean, I was still swimming on the Friday night, I think it was the 23rd of March, when Boris announced at 6 o'clock. I was in the pool teaching at that point, but everything was closing. So it's a bit surreal because they closed the pool early at 7 o'clock and we all kind of had to get out and go home. But actually, we know that chlorine does kill coronavirus. That's from Swim England, and the pool water, I'm going to forget it, PWAT. I'll try and put a link on my site to it. It's pool water safety guidance, essentially, and it's a national document about how to stay safe and how your pools are safe. So there is science behind it, and we can link you to that. But as far as we know, coronavirus is killed by chlorine. I think but it's hard because swim teaching is hands-on, and it is, especially at learn to swim age, you are often in the water with them. It is hands-on, it is biofeedback, and it's things like that. Obviously, in terms of mermaids, it's slightly different because I am on the side, they're in the pool, we could be socially distant even in the pool. But with that comes lots of other things, like an increase in space is going to be a massive increase in costs for me. So it's just trying to balance everything, and I'm not saying it can't work, we're just sort of seeing how it all goes and what pools will look like when they reopen. In the meantime, I've kind of done the whole scrubs thing, and I can keep just ticking away. The job's done, and I can keep working towards getting a few more scrubs done. I'm looking at things like birthdays and how I can make birthdays really exciting, just even with cards or things that people can download at home and make. So there's some craft tutorials up on my blog. I'm going to come up with some more, which is really exciting. And then it will be just, I've got some mermaid learning on the go as well. So I'm going to try and come up with 30 days of mermaid learning, which
Oh,
is,
I want it. I want it. I want it.
it was in the plan, and then the scrubs happened. I thought that probably needs to take priority. So 30 days of mermaid learning will hopefully be coming out shortly as well.
It's very exciting, and I think however difficult things are at the moment, I think we're all seeing a lot of interesting things coming out of this time, and often doing things that we wouldn't be doing this. And a lot of the stuff I'm doing with my classes and things are we're doing it online. We're doing dancing online, and that's really great because it's helping people who wouldn't be able who can't leave their home.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it's really interesting, and I tell you, it's been an absolute blast talking to a mermaid, even though it is on a video. So I'm sure there's a lot of kids and their kids' parties they would just love, you know, um, even if they have to have a small birthday party at home. I'm sure they would still love to get a visit online from a mermaid. I'm sure they would. I know I would. It's been really fun talking to you. And is there anything else you'd like to say to anybody watching this? Is there any other things that you're doing, or advice, or just inspiration for people?
Um, there's some ideas on my blog. There's going to be some more coming soon. FinFun have come up with some brilliant ideas as well. So I work really closely with FinFun. They're the company that make the mermaid tails that we wear. So there's lots of ideas on their blog as well.
Oh, that's good, because I think I was hinting that you made them all. Sorry about that. I got confused between the scrubs and the tails.
Yes, no, I don't make the tails. So the tails are made out of this fabric, which is beautiful, but I don't make it. But I have made a face mask.
I love it. I love it. And that's another thing. You see, we haven't even mentioned that the face mask that you've been making.
No, those are mainly at the moment. They took a really long time. I'm still getting used to the pattern. So they're for family at the moment. So, but I'm hopefully going to do a tutorial. So this is reused mermaid tail. So the mermaid tails do, like a swimsuit, eventually enough use, they're going to wear out, especially around the heels. And then this is old pajamas, which is also mermaid themed.
Oh yes, I just about see the scale.
Yeah. So upcycling. I don't know if I can see in the light. There we go. Upcycling.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Well, obviously, as my name is Pearl, I have a deep affinity to the ocean and to mermaids. And it's been so lovely. Thank you so much for
So
joining.
if I were to share this with my audience, can you tell me a little bit about, or my audience, about what you do?
Well, you see, similarly, what I do is completely changing all the time because of the current situation. So at the moment, I'm doing more videos and talks with people, because I just think there's some great stories, and it's so useful to hear what people have to say. I teach my Zumba classes, and Zumba Gold for older people, and I even do Zumba for people in wheelchairs, and I do the kids one as well. I do everything. So anytime somebody needs some Zumba, we've been very lucky that it's something we can do online. We have the same kind of problems as this with our, sometimes it gets a bit funny, and nothing's ever going to replace a real class, but it's a really great way to keep ourselves supported and stay fit and healthy, and just keep everything going, during this time, really. And also I write loads of books as well. And I write lots of books about travel. So what I'm hoping to do is to do more talks like this with people around the world, because obviously the travel industry has been really badly hit by coronavirus. And we have, I think in the same sort of way, it's very easy to look at things and think travel is just all glamorous hotels and things like that. But I've stayed in a lot of really amazing eco resorts. And one that I'm hoping to do a talk with, actually I'll tell you about, is actually the Cozumel Pearl Farm.
Okay.
And it's one of the most amazing beaches in Mexico, and it's on the Caribbean, and it sort of meets I think the Mexican Sea and the whatever, I've forgotten the name of the station, but I visited them, and they so it's a really unique pearl farm, and they also rehabilitate coral,
Wow.
and they basically grow pearls, they rehabilitate coral, they work on all kinds of ways to learn how to rehabilitate coral and grow coral and keep it going, that they then share with all these people, so it's almost like a research place as well. And it's just a really amazing beach you get to hang out on in a with a swing and swim in the it's really one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my entire life. And of course they're trying to keep their business going whilst they can't have visitors, and they're only allowed to go out to the farm very rarely. Um, Whereas before they would have been doing like a lot of tourist stuff like that. So there's a lot of people working in tourism that are actually working in conservation. And so I would want to be telling more stories like that about different places around the world, that people are trying to protect beaches, they're trying to protect the animals. And of course there's a lot of stuff about whales
Yeah.
and dolphins and things like that, which where you have a tourist business that kind of keeps the local community going with things like dolphin watching, whale watching, all kinds of visits like that. So there's a lot going on at the moment, and it's really nice to see how different businesses around the world are adapting and kind of keeping everything that they've been trying to do going.
Yeah, for sure. Brilliant.
Okie dokie. Oh, it's so nice to see you. I was calling you Hannah then. Anna. Let me just stop. And thank you so much.